Welcome back to our channel. Today I wanted to discuss living with chronic illness, specifically what I wish I would have known before I was diagnosed. Luna wanted to be in on the action, didn't you? Yeah. So did Nova. They are both bothering me quite a bit. So I want to warn you ahead of time, there will be some talk of suicide. So if that is a trigger for you, please feel free to click off of this. I won't be mad. Your health is just so much more important than listening to this video. So please take care of yourself. And I'm sorry that the dogs, if they're being very loud, I don't know how much the mic will pick up. Oh, thank you. This is Nova. She is Luna's sister. Completely different than Luna. If you've met Luna before, she's very chill and quiet, whereas Nova is crazy and loud. So she's also biologically Luna's sister. They have the same parents and they couldn't be more different, but it's okay. It's not mine, so she's with my mom. I was diagnosed with POTS a few years ago. I'd lived with my symptoms for most of my life, but being diagnosed took a lot longer. I also have chronic depression and chronic anxiety disorder, specifically social anxiety and general anxiety, of course. All the anxiety, which is, as we know now, that's part of what it means to have my type of POTS, which is adrenergic POTS, hyperadrenergic POTS, and it's where your adrenaline is constantly pumping way too much out all the time. So that's what makes my anxiety horrible all the time. It's because I have constant adrenaline that my body's producing that does not need to be produced. So it's fun. It's not easy the day you realize you're different. I always assumed that growing up that everyone was like me and everyone struggled to survive every day. And then I learned that's not the case. I used to look around at everyone I knew and just stare in wonder as to how they could survive so well and be okay when I was just struggling to live. I wanted to know how they could do it so well. But then I learned how different I was. I learned that most people weren't like me, and it was really hard being the odd one out. I would always look around me and just feel so jealous and sad, because I couldn't be like that, and I never would be. They could function so easily without any effort and just be able to live and go through the day. And that was not something I could do. Part of the problem with chronic illness is you'll never be the same, no matter what. The expectation you had for your life, it may never happen, and it's a grieving process trying to understand that and realize that things are just not how they used to be. This may sound horrible and frustrating and exhausting, so let's skip to a lighter note. An important thing to know is you're not alone in this. There are people struggling just as much as you are, and you're not the only one who's struggling. Your family and friends may not be able to fully understand what you're going through, so it's important to find someone that is going through something the same or similar chronic illness issues, just to have someone who can understand you and so you're not alone. I found a few people through Facebook and Instagram that have helped a lot and have talked me through a lot of it, and it was nice to just feel understood for once. Luna's back. Another important thing is there's always going to be people worse than you and always going to be people better than you. That doesn't mean that your struggles don't matter, and it doesn't cancel it all out. You are the one stuck in your body, not anyone else. You alone are the one who understands it the most. So I've said it before and I'll say it again, someone who drowns in 6 feet of water is still as dead as someone who drowns in 12 or 20 feet of water. So compared to someone else, you may be better or worse, but that doesn't mean you don't get to grieve and struggle too. I found this was really difficult to accept with a service dog and deciding to get a service dog, because I felt like I just wasn't enough to have her, that my condition wasn't severe enough to warrant it. And that's just not the case, because she helps me live and be independent. She helps me with my struggle quite a bit, and that is valid. It is valid to have someone who will help you. I want you to know that I was enough and you are enough. If it is seriously going to help you, then you should really consider it, because you're just trying to find something to help treat it and help get through it. And that's really important. That's really how you get life to be better, is trying all these treatments, trying all these things that will help you. The road to living with a chronic illness is exhausting and difficult, but it's important to not let it become your whole identity. Chances are you'll be stuck like that for a long time, if not the rest of your life. So you have to live despite it. I spent 2 years in grief. Just every day was suffering, and it was never ending. I couldn't go a day without thinking about it, without feeling that grief of what I had lost. I was just so lost in pain that it took over me completely, and it took my identity with it. My life for those 2 years was a dark, dark time. It was only suffering. I wasted a lot of time and gave up living. Stopped being active and going places because I just didn't want another reminder of what was wrong with me and how bad I was. It was hard to be around myself, and it was hard for other people too. I just was in such a dark place that I kind of drug everyone around me down with me. Just remember, it's not all darkness. Don't give up. The longer you live with your condition, the easier it gets, and the more you understand it. Your condition may go downhill, but with treatment, hopefully you can stop it or even improve it. I've found some treatments to help stop my progression and to even help and make symptoms better. Some treatments may not be available to you, and that's okay. There are other options, and sometimes lifestyle changes and diets can help improve symptoms dramatically. For me, large intakes of salt and drinking lots of water has helped improve my POTS symptoms. Everyone is different, and not all treatments work the same, so exploring other pathways is a valid option. No matter what, you got this. It's worth it to live sick than not at all. Your life may not be taking the direction you wanted it to, and that's okay, but that doesn't mean it's the end, and that doesn't mean you should take your life. Grieving over the life you expected is completely natural and normal. It's just, don't let it get to the point where death is the only option that consumes you. The second time I attempted suicide was mainly because of my condition and how bad it has gotten and how difficult it is to accept and grieve for it. I didn't really want to live like that anymore, and seeing everyone around me do so well and have no struggles just made it seem like life really wasn't, like there wasn't really a point to life anymore. I just felt so alone. I did have things to live for. I just got so wrapped up in the present that I couldn't see through it. I couldn't see that I might have a better future. I want you to know that there is always going to be people that don't believe you and that claim that you're making it all up. It's really frustrating, especially when you know the feelings are true. But really, if you know that it's real, that these feelings you're having and these symptoms are real, then it's real. No one else can say they're not, because you're the one living with it. I want you to know that I believe you, and there are other people who believe you as well. you're not alone in this, and it's not about the attention. It's about surviving and learning to grow and get better. Don't ever let others convince you that your feelings are not real. Sounds easier said than done, but it's a tip. My dad and stepmom told me ever since I was little that I was making everything up for attention and that my feelings and symptoms were all fake, which is a lovely thing to teach a child, just by the way. And so a lot of my childhood, I really struggled, and I stopped telling people how I was feeling and just kept it all bottled up inside and just spent that time hating myself because I had gotten to a point where I had believed them that I really was making it up and that I really was doing it for all attention deep down, even though I realized later that wasn't what was happening. I still believed them because a little kid believes the parental figures in their lives, especially when they insist upon it constantly. They never really saw that the reason I was telling them these symptoms was because I was reaching out for help and trying to get help. It was never about attention or anything like that. I just wanted help, and when I reached out for help, they let me down. And that wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last, but that's just something I kind of have to live with. Once I was diagnosed, I realized that my feelings and symptoms were true, and that they had been lying to me and trying to manipulate me into being complicit and going along with everything that they wanted me to. But for a long time, I really struggled to accept that what I was feeling was real, even after the diagnosis. Deep down, I was terrified that somehow, some way, I was still making it up, and that those things weren't real. Even though I wasn't, even though it was real, my feelings were real, and yours are too. Just don't give up. I believe you. Even if it seems like no one else does, I do. I hope this helped you. I've been wanting to discuss this for a while, so I'm glad I have been able to do that. If you have any other tips or questions, please put them down in the comments, and I'm always here if you need to talk. I may take a little while to respond just because life is crazy and I'm about to go back to college in a few days. I will try my best. Thank you for watching.